Welcome back to another Tiny Universe video. Today I'm going to do something a lot different than before. I wanted to kind of do a little devlog of, what kind of goes into making a model in this game. So I'll give you guys a little, kind of a never before seen video of creating a morph. So everything in this game, or pretty much in most games when you make a morph, starts with a part, usually kind of a sphere ideally. So this could kind of work as a tutorial. Alright, so today we're going to be doing day 18. So I pulled up an image here. You can kind of use your snipping tool if you're on a computer and take it from, the internet and then just paste it on here. As long as it's not a human face or anything that Roblox will, not like, you can put an image of it in game. So here's day 18. I have a sphere here, and if you notice, when you size up like these things here, they don't size up, like this is the only way that they size up. They kind of get more expanded and all that stuff. So what you want to do is you want to click on it and change it into a union, because when you do that, suddenly you can squish them and change them and morph them like they're Play-Doh. Then you want to go and pick a material. I might change this later, but I'll do probably bark willow for now. Remember, you can go into toolbox and change it to whatever material you'd like, and pick materials from toolbox. So also what you want to do is you want to use color part and properties when you click on a union, because then you'll be able to actually color a union and you can't color it normally. So there you go. Now we kind of have a texture that looks similar to kind of the legs here going on there. So duplicate is going to be your bread and butter for making models, because all you want to do is you just want to keep duplicating over and over till you get a shape you want. Look at that, you already have like a nice looking leg now, pretty much. So you can thin this out a little bit. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay, not the best looking hoof. Maybe, remember, you can flatten it out, and then that kind of works like the bottom of a foot. And you could also just rotate it like that, and then that gives it more of a slant look to it. So that kind of looks like it should be facing, I mean, according to here, as you can see here, it kind of slants with it backwards. So technically this is kind of the look that it should be having. So that's already the foot basically done. You got little hinge parts sticking out there, so what you want to do is you want to duplicate this part of the leg, move it down, like that, maybe thin it out a bit. Just to make the model look better. Just a little bit better. I'm going to thin them out just a little bit. So you just duplicate it again, you size it so that it's smaller than the other one, then you take the bigger one and you move it down a bit. There you go. Now you kind of have a bit of a thin edge compared to where it connects to the main body there. So I'll delete that one, union these two so it turns into a single part, and then there you go. Now you have the little hinge parts that you got there. And then, so for the rest of the leg, it's fine, basically. I guess I could, because day 18 is kind of deformed, so I'm going to duplicate that and then move this kind of like that. So it has a bit of a weird kind of shape to it. Yeah, that looks good. Now it kind of has a little bit of like that bump that you see there. This whole thing can just be a single union. Alright, so now we'll just duplicate this leg here. Now you see this one doesn't have those two, it has it on the top part, so I could just delete that and then go up here for this part here, and then now you have this part, which actually it's a little more slanted downwards than the other one. So you can go and do that, like that, and then you kind of thin it out a little bit. Then you extend it like that, there you go. Does this still work? Yep, still straight up and down. Oh, whoa, what the heck is that? There we go. Show you another trick, which is negate. Negate is going to be your best friend for making models look a lot more detailed. You notice how there's kind of like a little indent on that top leg here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to widen this out. Remember, when you're negating, everything that is inside this red thing will be deleted. So now when I union them, now you have a hole there. So it should be a little thinner than that though. So let me thin this out. There you go. Just duplicate these and then put them back here. Now the back legs don't have these little weird things here. And I noticed that the back legs actually have, it looks like indents, so they're really technically like 2 feet in one. So this is really easy. You could do it 2 ways. You could either just duplicate it and thin out both sides so that you just have a hole there in the middle, which looks good. You can kind of keep it like that if you want, or you can do it. You can do it this way, which is you duplicate one, negate it, and then thin it out in the middle. Extend that, and then when you union it, now you also have a hole kind of in the middle there. Okay, I'm actually gonna do one extra thing. I'm gonna make another negate down here. So it looks kind of more open towards the bottom. Make sure that you don't leave any floating parts when you do unions, because that will look weird. There you go. Now it looks a little more interesting. And it basically has the same thing for the other leg, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just duplicate it over when I'm done. Looks like, because you see that both of the legs have holes there. Now this is really easy. All you have to do is do the same trick I just said before of doing a union, and it looks like it goes all the way to the top, but it's on the back part of the leg, so we just move it back a little bit, scale them out a bit, and yeah. Oh wait, actually I could rotate it slightly. There you go. And now you have basically that similar thing there. Duplicate that. Ring. So now we are done with the leg parts of day 18. So now things get a little bit more difficult, but not too much more difficult. It all depends on kind of how smooth the process goes. So I'll start with the back legs. You can see how kind of the bum area is like a little bit of a circle, and then it thins out, and then it kind of bumps up again for the torso. So I'll quickly try to replicate that here. I notice it looks a little fat in the torso area, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna simply get both of these legs and move them closer to them, so now you can thin the torso part out and it doesn't look as wide anymore. The issue with day 18 is that it's got a lot of bumps and nooks and crannies, so it's not a very easy model to make just by default, because it's got all these little nooks like you see here. Even that little bum area has a bit of a curve. So you just duplicate that, bring that up, and then you can bring this up there. And then now you kind of got that little bump that he has on his butt. And then we'll get to the spikes in a bit, but I just want to make the kind of the torso first. So now this kind of looks good as his little bum area. And we'll go duplicate this. Have it extend out a bit. We'll add all the nooks and crannies in a bit. I just want to kind of make the simple shape. You rotate it up and down, so you kind of get that. I'm really gonna have to make a deeper crevice here. So what we can do is we can duplicate this, push this up, so that it kind of keeps the top part nice, and then we can move this part back, do the same up here. And then now there's a bit of a deeper crevice in the belly area while still keeping the top part of the model in pretty good shape. And the torso area is a lot wider than the bum, like bigger, as you can see there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just make a much bigger sphere here to work with, and also lower here, because you kind of see it has a bit of a round thing there. It doesn't have to be too big, but kind of like that. There we go. And then yeah, let me add some more details to the back here. Thin this out a little bit. Raise this up because he has a pretty, you don't want to make it too skinny and thin. There we go. Yeah, I like that. I like how that's coming out. Okay. Remember that the spikes always come after when you want to add all the details. You could add them early if it kind of helps designing the model, but it's just my preference. So obviously for this video, I'm kind of rushing a little bit and modeling the thing. Normally I take a lot more time, but just for your guys' sake, because I know that this has been a highly requested creature. Yeah, that looks like a good kind of torso system. Okay, so here's what you want to do next. To make it easier for you, since we have a very easy way to tell what the back and front torsos are, you want to take this whole part here, make that into a single union, take this whole part here, make that into a single union. Now you have two big main pieces, so when you're animating this, it's a lot easier. Okay, now I see, because this part still looks a little thin on this top part, I want this to merge in a lot easier, so I'll just duplicate the torso, pop that back a bit. There we go. Now this kind of widens it up a bit and it looks a lot more nicer. So you can do it the lazy way, which is the way I'm gonna do it, which is you can just separate this and steal this part that you just had before. You can see they don't have a lot of curve on them, so I could pretty much just use this exact thing. I don't have to edit it too much. Let me get it straight. You always want to have it straight. You don't want to be working with tilted parts because that's gonna be a pain in the butt. Alright, so we'll start with this major one back here, which is kind of like the most noticeable spike. And it could be, because remember, this is a 2D image. So when you're looking at it from the side, you gotta make sure it kind of looks good. Okay. It's got the top part here that extends out, and then it's got a little kind of second floor, is what I'd like to call it. So for that, you just do that. You could just do that, and there you go. That basically is identical to that. Oh wait, don't union that yet. Always duplicate that so you can use that part again. We're not having to mess with this one. Now we go back to this. This one looks like it's similar to that one, so I'm just gonna duplicate that. Let me check out my recording real quick. There you go. There's that part. Now the next few spikes are a lot smaller, so these aren't going to be too bad. You just lower them, thin them out, make them all, you know. So we got one spike there. It's interesting because these ones on the kind of here, they're not spiky. They're kind of flat tops. as you can see here, they're very flat there. So I think what I'm gonna do for these is I'm just going to duplicate this, right? You can use this model, negate it, widen it up so that this part is a lot flatter than it would normally be. Raise it up a little bit, like that, and then when you union it, you kind of got a much flatter edge there, which is perfect for these next few spikes that I'm gonna do. So we have another one up here, which seems to be just a little bigger and taller than that one. Rotate this just so it doesn't look as beautiful. It's like a wide spike, not a very thin spike. And then the next one is the major long spike. So what you could do for this one is you could go like that, and then you could duplicate it again so that you have a thinner edge at the top, like that. Like that. So that's that, and then you got a little bump here, it looks like. Does that look like those? Yeah, so take this one. Then there we go. So there's basically the torso complete for day 18. It's pretty nice, pretty sweet. Now we'll start adding the bumps on the bottom half here. So it looks like that's identical to that one, but I'll rotate it, flip it over, move it down here. Oh no, wait, I gotta rotate it one more time. Gotta say, that does not look... I don't know why that was added on the original model, so I'm gonna have to change this just a little bit just to make it look not as weird. If I add another spike here, it will make it look a lot nicer. There you go. Yeah, that's a lot better. By the way, you don't want to union these spikes to the torso because that's going to probably mess up the rotation. So what you can do instead, are we done here with spikes? Yeah, we're done here with the spikes. Actually, I want to do something real quick. You see how there's like a really tiny hole there? So in this model, these are like little small things that will just make the model look a lot nicer when people see it in the air. Negate, raise it up. Now you have a hole there, which is just like how it looks in the original. Just a tiny little hole there. It kind of looks like a face, but it looks like a guy with a nose and a big chin. So you want to take all the spikes and union them. I'm going to take this one. Rotate it 180, get it into the right position. You can use the size tool to move things around. You don't actually have to move them manually like that. So you got to make room for the neck, which is at the top part here. And since this is towards the bottom, we'll move it down here. So this looks more like a knife. It kind of dins out here a little bit more. So again, we'll use our best friend, which is the negate tool, to kind of thin this up a bit. Now you have more of a spike here. That's a tip I learned. When you're making something and you're making a model from scratch, that alone in itself is already really cool. You don't have to worry about people saying if it looks identical or not. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So, you know, don't bug yourself if it doesn't look identical. Remember, if you can look at a model and be like, okay, that's day 18, then you've already basically done an amazing job on the model. If someone could look at it and they could tell you exactly what it is, then you don't have to really worry about how your model looks, because you got the job done. I wonder if should I use, yeah, I'm gonna use this just because the bumps here add more texture to the neck so it doesn't just look basic. I'll have to remove the little union here. Delete that. Now we just have a neck part here that we can use. For the neck proportions, so as you can see, it thins out. So actually, I think what we might have to do is we're probably just gonna have to flip it over and add more kind of size to the back here of the neck. Remember, when you squish a union, that already adds more kind of like mass there. So that's a good neck. Want to use something like that, you could just go over here. There still is an extent to how many like how much unions you can put in a single model, because you gotta remember, if you just overdo the unions, it's gonna be really performance heavy. So you can get away with a lot of unions like I'm doing right now, you know, you can get away with it, but if you really overdo it heavily, you know, it'll be bad. Bad stuff will happen performance wise. You don't want a game is too laggy. So there's the neck, and let's see I think that should be it for the neck. Yeah, that should be good for the neck, to be honest. I do want to just thin it out slightly. Okay, and now we're at the final part. Remember when I said before about, you know, when you combined all this stuff, it all starts to come together. As you can see, it's definitely coming together. Alright, now we're at the grand finale, which is the head. So, let's see, does this work good as a headpiece? Because you see here, it's kind of like an oval, but it does thin out at the bottom. So you'll notice that the spikes actually also thin out at the bottom. So what you can do, so you just do that. And then put it onto the neck right here, like that. Now right now this looks like a day 18 with a very, very tiny head. So if you want to keep the shape of a union and size it up, you group it into a model like this, and then you can size it up without having to deform the shape that it was at before. So now that it's at the appropriate size, just do this. It doesn't have a large bump there, so you want to move it down just like that. You can duplicate it here, move it here, and then you get that part there, so that it kind of merges into a neck. It merges into the neck just a little bit better like that. It still kind of looks a little too thin though. Maybe if I rotate it a little bit. Let's see. Yeah. You gotta remember, the head in the actual image is also a lot smaller than the body itself. Actually, I'll thin it out slightly. We'll duplicate this again, just to kind of merge it into the neck a little bit better. Yeah, that'll work. And as far as I'm aware, the 18 doesn't have a face, so this is pretty good. I'm gonna add a couple little more details to the face. I'm gonna make the back part of the head a little wider than the front part. And I'm gonna just make the end a little pointier, so we'll duplicate one more time. Size it down. And maybe rotate it like a little bit like that. No, like that. There you go. And we'll just union that with head. Okay, now we're in the union phase. So, let's see, can I get away with unioning the whole neck? Yes, I can. I can union this. Oh. I want to animate this part when he walks, so I'm going to just leave it like that, and then for the rest of these spikes on the back, that all becomes a single union. So, honestly, I think we're pretty much done with the Day 18 model. So I'm not going to show the rigging and animation process, because that's going to take like another 2, 3, 4 hours, to be honest with you, and this video is going to be like mega long. But if you guys do want that, I can do that for like a different model or something. So you guys just let me know. And also let me know if you like this type of video, because this is something different. So here's my day 18 model. I might tweak it just a tiny bit more, but this is kind of how it's gonna look when it gets released. So I hope you guys enjoy, and yeah, like and subscribe.